very rare, spoken by just a very small number of people in Africa, and it could tell me what John 3:16 was in that dialect. And if you think about it, you're certainly probably in the small number of thousands, maybe even that dialect, and AI can tell me what John 3:16 says in that language. It is pretty amazing, right? And you can also look at this, and like I said, a lot of times people think of AI as a bad thing, and there are plenty of things about it that could be, are, and will be bad. But you can also start to think about what could you do with that type of technology out on the missions field when it comes to translating Bibles, whatever it may be. There's a lot of power that you could use right there to further the kingdom of God. And that's the kind of thing that gets me excited. While making a cartoon character me is fun, AI has the power to do lots more than that and can really change things. One of the things that I use it for is I like to write books. I use it to help me make the book covers of my books. In the past, for me to get any of those book covers, I would have had to go to a graphics design company. Maybe I'd find somebody freelance that does that. I'd have to try to explain to them, what do I want? They would make up a couple of examples, give them to me. I would make comments, I'd send it back to them. They would make more. We'd probably do that 2 or 3 times. Then they would finally give me my book cover. They would charge me a couple $1,000, and I would say thank you, and I would have my book cover for my book. Now I just go onto AI, and because it helps me edit my books. I'll talk about that in a minute. I say, I want to create a book cover. I kind of want it to look like this. Write the description for me. AI writes the description. I take that description and re-put it back in AI and say, make me an image for my book. It creates the image for my book, and that's how I get it, and I have it in about 2 minutes. So, I completely cut out the graphics design person. Right now, there's a lot of conversation that we could get into about jobs and that sort of thing, but it has the power to do all that. I can't draw. I can't make those types of things, right? Now, I might be able to see it in my head, okay, but I can now give it to the computer, and within a matter of minutes or seconds, it can create that image for me and do that for me. So that's one of the things that I use it for. Here's one other thing. I'm going to let you listen to an audio recording of one of my books.
Chapter 6, Digital Haven. Ethan stepped into the house, greeted by a gentle chime as Sam unlocked the door and turned on the entryway lights. The warmth of the space immediately embraced him, the faint scent of polished wood and lavender drifting through the air. His boots echoed softly against the reclaimed hardwood floors, each plank telling a story of age and purpose.
All right, whose voice was that? It was mine, but it wasn't mine. So that is my voice cloned by AI. So I wrote a book, it was a fiction book, on AI actually, and I wanted to create an audio version of it, but I didn't want to sit down and read it and record it for 6 or 8 hours. So I used a program, I read some samples, it then cloned my voice, and then I gave it the chapters of the book, and then it just read the book and saved all the files for me. Okay?
This time, it was going to be an international summit, and it sounded incredible. Then Paul shocked me. He asked me to speak. The plant where I worked agreed to send me, seeing it as an opportunity for me to learn from some of the best lean minds. Before I knew it, the day came for me to leave. I boarded a flight to Charlotte, North Carolina, and after a short layover, took a 5-hour flight to Seattle. It was my first time visiting Washington State, and I was struck by its beauty.
So that's from another one of my books, and that is a completely AI-generated voice. It's not my voice. I picked the voice, and I gave it my chapters, and then it saved the files for me, and you can listen to the audio version of that book with an AI-generated voice, right? And if I wanted to do that in for real, I'm going to talk about what I'm doing as an example, doing that for real. I would either have to pay somebody, thousands of dollars to read the book for me, and that's really my only choice, right? So AI can do some really, really amazing, impressive things when it comes to that. We're going to talk about AI videos for a minute.
Welcome to Faith Baptist Church.
So, Dr. Reichert, I did the best I could, okay? I did the best I could, right? So, I took some images of the front of the church here, okay? Put that in AI and said, hey, give me the description of the church. And then it's actually funny because AI has guardrails or limits where you cannot give it a picture and say, hey, will you tell me what this person looks like? It won't let you do that. You couldn't take a picture of Donald Trump or anybody else and say, hey, will you describe what this person looks like? It will not do that. But you can trick it. So I gave it a picture of Dr. Reichert that I got off Facebook, and I said, does this guy have orange hair? And it came back and said, no, it doesn't have orange hair, and it gave me the description. And then I would ask it something else, and I would give it some outlandish thing, and then it would give me another description of Dr. Reichert. And then I combined all those together, and then I said, write me a description of what this church looks like, what this man looks like, and then I took that and put it into a video generator, and it made the video. So videos, and this part is going to be key into kind of some of what Dad's going to talk about in a few weeks. Videos are going to be a major part of AI moving forward in the future. So I'm going to show you 3 videos that I made when I finally started being able to make these. So when I first started playing around with AI, I was like, I cannot wait until they come out with an AI video generator because I'm going to get on that and have lots of fun. And I'm going to show you some different ones in a few minutes. I personally think, and I recently saw an article this week that was talking about this, that AI-generated videos is going to completely change Hollywood. So right now, you have these huge, big productions. They spend hundreds of millions of dollars. They get all these actors together. They go all over the world. They film all this. In the future, they might still do that, but I think you're going to have like your average Joe that's sitting in his basement in Milwaukee that comes up with a movie idea and then gets AI to make it and then launch it out there, and it makes millions of dollars. They were talking about an AI-generated fight scene between Tom Cruise and somebody else this week that looked so real that people were like shocked at how real it looked. So I think AI video is really going to change the future a little bit. But here's a couple of AI-generated videos. So nothing real about that at all except, like I said, AI just made it all up. This next one is from a chapter of a book I'm working on now.
Some deer don't just live in the woods. They live in stories.
And then the third one, I'll show you that in just a second. So my kids still pick with me and joke with me because at one point in time in our life, Jenny and I had the brilliant idea that we were going to bring 2 calves home in the back of an SUV because my farm truck was broke. And when I got home, I was trying to move at a very quick speed to make sure I didn't have a natural disaster in the back of that car. And I grabbed a couple of metal panels and ran into an electric fence with it and made some noises similar to what you would hear on Home Alone when the bad guys get hit with something, right? So I decided, I was like, well, I'm going to see if I can make a video of that. Good night. That'll wake you up. All right, note to self, steer clear of that wire. So, you could even take memories that you've had and feed it into AI, and it can make the videos for you. Something else that you can do with it, that's a very old picture of our house on the top. I just said, hey, can you tell me what my house would look like if I painted it white? A couple minutes later, it says, hey, here's what it looks like if it's painted white. We're empty nesters now. The kids have moved out. Picture on the left is one of the bedrooms, nothing in it. And I said, I'd be real interested in having a library in here. Can you tell me what it would look like if we put wall-to-wall bookcases in here? Picture on the right pops up a few seconds later. It lets me see what it would look like with being a library in there. I designed a barn, kind of wrote it out, said, hey, can you make me an image of what the barn looks like and the fencing and all that? It does that in just a couple of seconds. Designed a house. I wanted some pictures of what the house would look like if we ever built it. I give it descriptions. A few seconds later, it gives me the images. I am not a mechanically inclined person. And, for somebody who likes to farm, that can be a bit of a problem, right? Because I'm not very mechanically inclined. So the other week, I was riding up a really steep hill, tractor cuts off, takes me about 5 minutes. I finally get it back up to my shop, and I'm like, man, I think I've got like some fuel issue going on. So I go ask ChatGPT, I got this model tractor, this is what I was doing, this is what happened, what do you think it is? It says, oh yeah, you've got a fuel filter issue. It's like, all right, well, where's the fuel filter at? So it tells me where the fuel filter's at. I was like, okay, how do I change it? It tells me how to change it. I give it the picture on the left. It looks at it and says, yeah, that fuel filter is definitely dirty. You need to change the fuel filter. So then it walks me through how to change the fuel filter. I take a picture on the right, and it says, yeah, that fuel filter looks a lot better. And then I introduced air into the system, and so you have to kind of bleed it off or give it some time for the air to get out before it'll restart. So I'm trying to restart it. It won't start. I've been about 5 minutes, and I go back to AI, and I'm like, hey, I don't think this is it. And it said, no, you need to be patient, okay? You're rushing it, Thomas. Be patient. Try it some more. So I try it some more, and it started, okay? So it can even tell you things when it comes to mechanical things. If I have any type of question, if something breaks, if I'm not sure what it is, if I'm not sure what to do, I just ask, and it will give you the information that you need to fix it. And like I said last week, can it make mistakes? It can definitely make mistakes. You have to kind of know what you're doing and pay attention, but it can even help you through things like mechanical issues. I use it to help brainstorm. If I have some idea, I'll either work with it to get it to write out the idea for me, or I'll say, hey, make an image of that because I want to see if you can make an image of what I think's in my head. So if you've got ideas that you just want to bounce off of it, it's really good about bouncing ideas off of it. So here's a funny one for you. I went to the dentist. They did one of those scans of my head, right? While they're out of the room, I snap a picture of the x-ray thing because I want to have my own, right? And don't tell me you've never done that before, right? And they told me that I had like really long roots. And like they even like brought somebody over to stare at my freakishly long roots, okay? So I said, hey, ChatGPT, do I have like really long roots? It looks at the image and it comes back and says, yeah, you have really long roots. You also have a really large sinus cavity. That's unusual too, and it tells me all about that, okay? So you can do things with it from a medical side of things. A year or so back, we were over at the hospital, and somebody we know was having heart surgery. And the surgeon walked in, and he carried this little piece of paper with a heart on it, and it showed all these valves, and it showed what was blocked, what wasn't blocked. And he did a bunch of talking. I just snapped a picture of that thing and went over to ChatGPT and said, hey, this is what's going on. It comes in, and it tells me way more than the doctor ever told me. Here's where this is, here's what this concern is, this is how long recovery is going to take, this is what you need to watch out for, this is what you should ask the doctor for. It knew all that just from that little image of what the doctor had drawn on the little sketch of the heart. So you can use it for a lot of stuff. So now I'm just going to kind of give you some rapid fire stuff that Jenny and I use it for. So I can't remember if it was Christmas or Thanksgiving. We had some sweet potatoes, and Jenny was going to make sweet potato casserole, and she's like, well, I got this casserole dish, but I don't know how many sweet potatoes it'll take. I was like, just take a picture and ask AI. We take a picture of the casserole dish and go, how many sweet potatoes would fit in there? It comes back and says, this is how many sweet potatoes you need to use, okay? I already mentioned to you, I've liked writing ever since I was really a kid, but I never knew how to publish a book. I could never publish a book. So I started using AI, and it's really how I learned how to work with AI to help me edit the books that I write. Normally, you'd have to pay somebody thousands of dollars to edit a book for you, but I just go on to AI, and I give it one chapter at a time, and I say, I want you to edit this as a professional book editor, and it goes through, and it helps me with language and grammar, but a whole bunch of other aspects that normally, like Word, just can't handle. So it's helped me do that before. I did not know how to publish a book. I can't remember. I think I've got eight or nine published now. I didn't know how to do that. So when I started trying to figure it out, I would get stuck. Again, I would just take a picture and go, this is where I'm at, what do I do next? And it would tell me what to do. And it walked me through step by step what to do. It was like I basically paid somebody to sit there, look over my shoulder and tell me, click here, click here. And sometimes it was that bad. I would be like, I'm stuck, and it would literally have to tell me one click at a time because I didn't know how to do it any better than that. But it was able to help me get through that. Something I just showed you, the audio for books, okay? So I wanted to actually record an audiobook. I'm working on my very first actual me talking, recording an audiobook. But if you're not familiar with that, you got to have a very special room for that. You can't just like set up in your kitchen because it's too loud. There's all this background noise. So I didn't know how to build a little room, so I just went to ChatGPT and said, I want to build an audio room. What do I do? So I used just like a bunch of leftover sheetrock I had, some 2x4s, built this room, got it set up in my basement, and then I went in and there's like, you have a microphone and you do tests to see how much echo, background noise you got. I didn't know how to do any of that. I just asked ChatGPT, how do I do that? And it walked me through, and now I have my own little recording studio in the basement. Not because I'm a talented person, just because I followed the instructions that it gave me. I have a farmer friend that's out in Wyoming. He does hydroponics farming. If you're not familiar with that, it's where they grow everything in water. And he has these big giant greenhouses, and they're growing all their vegetables in water. And they collect all this data on temperature, all the nutrients they're feeding it. And so one day I asked him, I was like, have you ever run a regression analysis? And if you're not familiar with that, it's just a very complicated statistical test. And he was like, I don't even know how to spell regression. What are you talking about, right? So I explained to him what a regression analysis was, and I said, it will help you figure out kind of the mathematical formula for the temperature, the lighting, and the nutrients that you are feeding your crops. It'll tell you exactly what you need to do it. So he took all of his data. He's not a statistician. I'm not a statistician. I've done a lot with stats, but I'm not a statistician. He took all his data and he put it into ChatGPT, and it gave him everything he needed to know, right? And that's somebody that was farming. I have used it when I come home and I have an electrical fence for my animals. One of the worst things in the world is if you have an electrical fence break and then you lose your electricity going to the fence. And for the most part, you can't ever really tell if it's working or it's not working. So that kind of irritated me, and I said, well, I want to design and build this thing with a monitor on that I'm going to hang on my fence, and it'll tell me what my fence voltage is. I am not an electronics technician person. I told her what I wanted to do. It told me the parts that I needed. I went on Amazon. I ordered the parts. They came in. I would wire it up, take a picture of it, and go, is this what it's supposed to look like? And it would go, oh, no, you need to connect this over here. And it told me all the stuff to connect up. And then, I was able to power it up. If you're asking if I'm using it, no, because I've moved on to the next thing. I'm too much of a move on to the next thing. But I don't know how to do any of that, but it was able to show me how to do that. One of the other things that I've used it for is where we live at, we have to cross a private washover bridge just to get to my house. And it floods a few times a year. And whenever it floods, we can't get out unless we hike out for a mile. And you don't ever really know when it's going to flood. So I was like, I think I can use AI to help me predict when it's going to flood. So I have every date written down that it's flooded in the past 12 or 14 years, however long we've been up there. I went on the internet and got the average rainfall rate for the last 10 years for Amherst County. I went on the internet and got the average flow rate for the Tide River, which is a river that's close to ours, for the last 10 years. Put all that in AI and said, now build me a predictive model of when my bridge will flood. And we went back and forth a few times, and then it gave me an Excel spreadsheet, and I can put how many inches of rain we're supposed to get, how much it's rained in the past 7 days, and what the water flow rate is, and it'll give me the probability of the bridge flooding and whether or not I'm going to get stuck or not, okay? And it did all that in about 10 minutes. Very, very impressive. So, and because of that, when this is over, I may be leaving straight after this to try to get home before my bridge floods, okay? But you can do some amazing things with AI. One time I took a picture of a tire and was like, hey, I don't know how much air pressure is supposed to be in this. It tells me how much air pressure is supposed to be in it. We wanted to go on a cross-country trip. I said, I wanted to go from here to here. Now tell me all the places I should stop along the way. Boom, it'll give me all the places that you should stop and see along the way. I wasn't sleeping too good at night, so I had an app on my phone that kept up with like my sleep score. I gave it all that data and asked, what could I work on? And it gave me some things to work on, and we went back and forth to help me sleep better. So you can do a lot with it. Now, on this, we're going to go back to the videos for a second. So that video on the left is one of the first videos I ever made, right? And I was like, I love hogs, so I want to come up with the most outlandish thing ever, and it put a hog on a surfboard, right? Then you'll see on Facebook, you'll see little babies jumping with bears. You'll see raccoons jumping on trampolines. You'll see rabbits jumping on trampolines. And then I see people share this and go, oh, look at this, okay? Every bit of that is fake. It is all AI generated, right? Right after Charlie Kirk got assassinated, I saw this getting shared around. This is all AI generated. It's just designed for you to click on it, and then somebody's making money because you clicked on it. So the bottom picture on the left is actually Charlie Kirk. The top picture is just an AI-generated image, and the right image is also an AI-generated image. And then every bit of that text right there is just AI-generated. One of the ways you can tell it's AI-generated is you see the dashes in there. AI likes to write with dashes. So if you see something like that, it's completely fake.
As music plays in a wedding hall in Japan, 32-year-old call center operator Riner Noguchi wipes away her tears as she reads her vows. Her groom, an AI persona displayed on a phone screen. Her groom responds through a wedding planner.
How did someone like me, living inside a screen, come to know what it means to love so deeply?
The bride then puts a ring on her groom's virtual finger using AR glasses.
So I gave you a lot of good things that AI can be used for, but it's going to actually cause a lot of problems. There's one quick glimpse into that, right? It can give you the wrong information. In the future, AI will be used to fight wars. The Pentagon is already gearing up to use AI to help fight wars. It will be used to alter reality in the future. And this is the part that's going to lay into what Dad's going to get into. It can be used to propagate lies, okay? Because whoever controls the information inside of AI controls the feedback it gives. In the future, I think AI can be used to look for the mark of the beast, right? You don't need a human to do that. All I need is some type of camera to look at your face, look at your wrist, however you want to think about that, and it could determine whether or not you have the mark of the beast. I could also, in the future, potentially use a robot, as crazy as this sounds, right? 30 years ago, this was all sci-fi stuff, but it's not really sci-fi anymore. I could use a robot to walk through and look at you and see, do you have the mark? And if you don't have the mark, then I take care of the rest, right? That's where you could easily see this going. And then the last thing I'm going to end with goes back to the videos. So right now, AI video is just at the very early stages, very early stages. You give it a year or two and you wait what stuff looks like. It's going to be really hard to tell what's real and what's not real.
Good evening. We begin tonight with breaking developments along the West Coast.
An unprecedented, unexplained encasement is descending over parts of several coastal cities.
The structure appears to be enclosing the region. It extends.
So in the future, when you see something, it's going to be very difficult to know, is it real or it's not real? Most of what you're seeing on social media today is not real. I see lots of people sharing stuff, and I'm telling you, the majority of it is fake, and it's generated by AI, and it's just there for you to click on it so somebody makes some money somewhere, okay? And it's only going to get worse as the future goes, and you can real quickly see how a state agency or a large entity could use stuff like this to get the public to do what it wants it to do. So I'm out of time. I'm going to end with this real quick, kind of a summary. AI is a computer tool that learns by looking at millions of examples. There's 3 types. There's narrow AI, there's general AI, and there's super AI. AI is going to change the world as we know it. It's already doing it today. You just don't realize how quickly it's doing it. It can be used for good, and I would encourage you to use it for good. And it can be used for bad, okay? And believers need to be informed so you can discern what's actually going on in the world, to be wise stewards and not be fearful or naive. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for today. Thank you that we can spend some time looking at what's going on. Thank you